So writing programs this way also enables me to test the program as I go along. I'm going to create a new file. You don't need to. This is just to explain what's going on. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to save it as my add, because I'm going to test the add function that I created, or the add procedure. Because at the moment it is a procedure, because there is no return keyword inside this definition. So what I'm going to do is just copy it and put it into my new program. There you go, it just adds two numbers. Now it's not good enough at the moment because I'm not going to use this function getValue, or I'm not going to use this procedure show result. I'm actually going to put the original programming back in. So show result was just print, I know it was result in here. It was result in here because I gave it a value of result. But when we were playing around with add, we actually used answer. So I need to print answer. And this get value was just this single line here. So I'm just going to pinch that too. So instead of get value, I'm going to paste that in there. I don't need the C equals. So let's do that as well. And that is my sort of add function or add procedure. So that is the definition of it. And if I want to use it in my program, I need to call it. So to make this work, all I need to do is call add. It is a procedure because there's no return value in here, so I only need the word and the parenthesis. And if I run that, it will ask me for two numbers and add them together and give me the answer. So there we go. Please enter a number, 3, 4, and the answer is 7, and that's the end of the program. So I've tested it. It works quite nicely. But what I want to point out with this call is that I can call it again and again. Whoops. I only define it once. So in other words, I give it a definition of how I want the program to work. And anytime in my program, I can just use add. Let's just put a message in there. And again. And let's copy and paste that. Just to give us a little breakup on the code. So if I now run my program, it's not just going to add two numbers, it's going to do the whole job 3 times. Please enter a number. Let's do the 3 and 4 again. We get 7. Please enter a number. 5 and 6. We get 11. 1 and 1. We get 2. And that's the 3rd time my program's ended. So this is called a call. And at the moment it's a procedural call because there is nothing coming back. I could change add into a function by, instead of saying print answer, typing the keyword return answer. But if I did that, and let's get rid of some of this code here, if I did that, if I'm returning answer, then I need to capture it. I can't use this anymore, it's not going to work. Let's run that and see what happens. I don't think it will crash, I just don't think it will do the job. Please enter a number, 3 and 4, and there you go. It hasn't bothered adding, it hasn't done anything with it because it didn't print it out, and it should have sent it back to here. So what I need to do is put a variable in there to capture this answer. So when it comes out of here, it's going to be stored in A, and then all I need to do to see the result is print A here. So we've taken the print from out of here and put it down here, and we've turned this now into a function. It was a procedure, it's now a function. So if I run this, we will have the same sort of thing again. Please enter a number, 5, 4, there we go, 9, and the program ends. And as we did before, we could call this many times. So let's just do another one, just to prove it. So we're asking for it to add again, and it will get a different value for A here and print that different value out there. So let's run that and see it. So it should work twice. Let's do 2 and 3, 5 and 3 and 4, which should be 7, and we get different answers. So that's the difference between a function and procedure and testing things out. What I want to do now is, let's assume that we didn't want to have these two lines in here. Let's cut those from there and place them in my main program. I need to dedent those. So I don't need to have the things in there at all. And let's lose these two lines. But at the moment it's not going to do anything. It's just going to ask me for number 1 and number 2. Then it's going to try and add. Then it's going to print the answer. But we haven't really done it properly, so it's not going to work as I would like. In fact, it's probably going to crash when I've entered my second number. So if I do 3 and 4, if I press enter now, I'm expecting the program to crash with saying, what are you talking about? I don't know what 3 and 4 is. Oh, and it's actually done it. Yeah, okay, and that is because I've used the same words here. These inside here are now the same as these two items here, num1, num2, and we call these global variables because they're the same on the outside as they are on the inside, so they hold the same value. However, we don't need that. I could have n1 and n2. They are now not the same variable. n1 is different to num1, n2 is different to num2. So these remain global, but these are local variables. And when I run the program this time, it's going to ask us for 2 numbers, it's going to try and add, but then it will crash. So let's see that in action. Please enter a number, 2 and 3, and then a crash. And it says the global name num1 is not defined because we had num1 in here, and it said, I'm sorry, you didn't set num1 outside of this function, so I don't know what it is. Obviously I can just change that to num1 and that will cure that, but I don't want to be doing that at all. What I want to do is say, okay, fair enough, I've got num1, num2, but what I'm going to do is pass num1 and num2 or n2 into this function. So here I've used n1, but in the definition I've also got to change it. So that says num1 and that says num2. So that equates to that, that equates to that. So what I'm doing is I am passing n1 into num1, it can do the work. I'm passing n2 into num2, it can do the work, and everything should be fine. So if I run that, please enter a number, 2, and it never likes you when you copy and paste. 2 and 6, we should get 8, and then we have the correct value. So these n1 and n2 are now called global variables. They're outside of the function in the main program, and num1, num2 are called local variables, and they only exist inside the function. Now here I had to pass some information into, I had to pass this into the function, otherwise it just wouldn't know what it was. So this is called an argument, and to be honest I don't even need this, so let's get rid of this. I'm not going to use a variable, I'm going to use a fixed value, a hard-coded value. I'm going to say add 3 and add 6. So it's going to pass 3 into num1, and it's going to pass 6 into num2. It will know what num1 is, it will know what num2 is, it will add 3 and 6 together, the answer will be 9, and it's going to return answer into A, and then it's going to print A out being 9. So let's run that program. There we go. No message on please enter a number. It just did the maths. So why have I done this? I want to distinguish between the details in here and the details in the function definition. These are called arguments. So if they appear in the call, they are called arguments. The same sort of thing here are called parameters. So num1 and num2 are known as parameters. 3 and 6 are known as arguments. Now the parameters are never going to change. They're always going to be num1 and num2 because that's what we require inside of our function. However, arguments can change as many times as you like. So let me do another one here. A equals add 4 and 7. That should give me 11. A equals add 5 and 1. So I'm giving it different arguments. Okay, and as you see, when I hover over it, it's telling me that I need 2 of them. If I get this wrong, it's going to complain. So if it requires 2 parameters and I only give it 1 argument, it's going to complain. But we'll look at that in a minute. So let's take a look at this print A. Let's copy that a bit. Whoops. It's a lot better if I don't do that. Let's paste it there and paste it there. So I've now got 3 sums. That will work. It's never going to ask me for a number. It's just going to do the math. So if I run the module, there you go, 9, 11 and 6. So before I sort of finish off, I want to just look back at what I've said by passing the wrong amount of arguments. So in this one, I'm going to try and add 6. Well, here I'm asking for 2 numbers and I'm only giving it 1. So if I run that, I should have an error message. And if we take a look at the error message, it says add takes exactly 2 arguments. So I need to give it 2 arguments for it to work. Okay, and if I do that, but have the wrong number of parameters and try to send it 2 arguments where I've only got 1 parameter, and let's say we're just going to do num1 plus num1 so that doesn't crash, and run that module. Okay, I get again the fact that it takes only 1 argument, but 2 were given. So it's saying that I gave it 2, but it required 1. But notice that it did not call it a parameter, it called it an argument. And this is where you probably make a lot of mistakes and get confused between the two. But in a function definition, they're called parameters. In a function call, they're called arguments. So there's a lot of information there for you to digest and understand, but I have covered all of it. You just need to sort of go back over it, practice these things.